Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong says 1 year after the general election, the government has changed its approach in many areas, particularly in the process of engaging the electorate and in policy outcomes. Mr. Lee says this was a necessary and helpful change. As Singapore enters a new phase, this two-way process should result in both sides working together to make Singapore succeed. He was speaking to Singapore media in Phnom Penh at the end of the 20th ASEAN Summit. Ezra Mesh with more.
The 6th of May will be a year since Singapore had its last general election. After the polls, Mr. Lee had spoken of greater engagement with the people, and Mr. Lee says the process has been helpful.
But it is something which must work in a two-way process. It's not just what the government does, it's also how the electorate sees their role in a new environment and how it sees that it can contribute and what its responsibilities are towards making the system work in a different way. Because this is not about what more the government will do. Of course, the government must do all that it can, it's its responsibility. But it's also about how we can work together in order to make Singapore succeed. And that calls on Singaporeans to speak out, but also to participate and to feel a responsibility to do their part in order to make things happen the right way.
As for how Singaporeans have done on this count, Mr. Lee thinks the process is still ongoing.
I believe after 1 year, there's a certain stability which is being restored in terms of the mood and the expectations. But it will take some time more. And the balance between speaking out and working together is something which has to be, which still needs to be worked upon.
He cited the example of the feedback on building studio apartments at Toh Yi for the elderly as one where speaking out and working together fell short.
People respond more articulately now. They organize together more easily. The internet has enabled this to happen much more readily than before, and also people are much more educated and vocal. And so we have to manage this. But if we must not go to a position where NIMBY, not in my backyard, becomes a general attitude among Singaporeans, because then we will stymie ourselves. If we take a self-centered approach to problems, we will not be able to do the best for ourselves as a community. And we must make sure that we don't end up with a lot of things no. We have to consult, we have to adjust. You look at Bukit Brown, you have to talk and explain. But if at the end we cannot move at all, then you will not only not have tomorrow's Singapore, we wouldn't even have today's Singapore.
Prime Minister Lee adds that Singaporeans must feel together ethnically so that race, language or religion do not become sensitive issues. This especially in the age of the internet, when it is easy to get people upset about such subjects. He also addressed the furor over a blog post by NUS scholar Sun Se, who's from China.
He shouldn't have made the blog post he did. He's been chastised, he's been disciplined, he has expressed his contrition, that he's sorry about it. And I think we should accept that. And we should be able to move on from that and deal with that as one person who misspoke. And we should not, because of one incident, make that into an issue that all immigrants are like that, or all Singaporeans should feel like that towards not even immigrants, but towards non-Singaporeans who are in Singapore, either studying here or working here.
As for the possibility of a by-election in Hougang, Mr. Lee did not want to be drawn into any speculation over whether it will be expanded to include more constituencies.